One fine spring morning, on the best bank of the River Tamar, the beautiful Queen of the May was strolling along, a proper and respectful 6 feet away from her good friend Jack in the Green. As they wandered along, the friends talked about the worrying situation they found themselves in and the experience they were having. They spoke of their gardens, how they were getting so much time to work on them. Both agreed that the plant identification was coming along really well, with the helpful chalk markings on the road and the printed and laminated labels in the hedges. Jack was a big fan of sorrel, added a lovely lemony bite to salads. The Queen of the May really liked the sound of sorry pottywort and found herself chuckling whenever she saw some. The two friends rounded a corner in the road and came upon the Calstock dragon. Sat there with his eyes streaming and a worried look on his face. "What is the matter?" asked the Queen. "How can we help?" inquired Jack. The dragon looked up and explained because of the recent good weather, there was a lot of pollen in the air and their hay fever was really playing up. The thing that really concerned the dragon was a sneeze. As you can imagine, a dragon sneeze is quite a thing. A big one could devastate the whole valley. Normally, the dragon explained, he'd contain the power of the sneeze using a tissue. But alas, he'd run out of tissues and had to start using loo roll to catch them. This worked fine for a while, but now the poor dragon was down to the last sheet on their last roll. They'd searched and searched, but there was no more toilet roll at any price. As the dragon finished describing their sad predicament, the three of them heard an evil laugh coming from behind a nearby hedge, as out came the Black Knight, rubbing his hands together with glee. He laughingly explained that he'd gathered all the bog roll in all the land and would soon be getting rich, selling it at massively inflated prices. The three were all shocked by this revelation, but what could they do? Seeing the laughing knight was too much for the poor hay fever stricken dragon. Throwing aside conventions of social distancing, the dragon lunged at the Black Knight. They crashed together, a scrape of claw against armour, sword against scale. They fought on for a long time. After a long, hard battle, both combatants collapsed exhausted onto the ground, in need of medical attention. But this year there was no medical practitioner strolling past. They were all too busy. The dragon and the knight both got out their phones and tried to get some medical advice that way. The dragon started to carefully wash and bandage its wounds, as instructed by 111. Fortunately, for some at least, coming along the trail towards them was a doctor, on their way home from a 312.5-hour shift. Tired as they were, they glanced at the dragon, who they were sure would recover well. Turning to the knight, who was still on the phone, the medic started to treat the wounds. The knight put down the phone and explained that according to the American he'd just spoken with, all he needed was a good dose of bleach and he'd be right as rain. Having dressed the wounds, the medic explained why that was such a stupid idea. They looked up as St. Piran approached the group. Our good Cornish saint inquired as to why there was such a large gathering here, totally against the latest advice. They all tried to talk at once, presenting their own version of what was happening. After some time, the good saint demanded silence. He looked angry now. Turning on the Black Knight, he exclaimed that the lack of toilet rolls was by far the worst thing that had ever happened in the valley, and challenged him to fight for his honour. They fought viciously, but the knight was no match for the brave St. Piran, and finally fell mortally wounded to the ground. Particularly exciting daily exercise. The group split up with promises to meet each other again in the future, when such things were allowed. Each made their way home, alone.